Hi everybody, it's Coach McCreary from Baseball by the Yard. I have something a little new today. I saw this video on YouTube and I thought I would go through it kind of second by second and analyze some things here. Now, at the end of this video, I'd like to get some feedback from you guys on a service that I'm thinking of adding to my site. So if you watch the whole video and you get to the end, terrific. I'd love to get your feedback on what I talk about at the end of this video. But if you're not interested in seeing this particular video, if you could fast forward to the very end where I kind of throw out an idea for a service for the website. So again, I'd love to hear your feedback on this. And pretty much what I would offer is very much along the lines of this kind of video, individualized for yourself or your players or whatever. Okay, so let's get started here. So here's a video that I found on YouTube, which is kind of a slow motion video of Aroldis Chapman. Okay, he is the pitcher for the Cincinnati Reds who throws over 100 miles an hour. Kind of a freak of nature there, but I wanted to show you how I would break down this video. And what you're going to find is a lot of things that he does is correct. So not only does he throw 100 miles an hour, but his mechanics, in my view, are very sound, with one or two minor exceptions. But obviously, he gets away with any kind of mistakes that he does. So I want to walk you through this video and show you what I see, and we'll go from there. Okay. So first off, this obviously is starting from the almost the set position where his knee is up. So I'm going to play it, and then occasionally I'll stop it and make some comments here. All right, so at this stage right here, okay, he's pretty much finished his load up position. Now there's going to be a couple things that I'm going to point out here. First off, you're going to see a straight line from his foot that's on the ground straight up through his head. Okay, now that's important for balance. Now a lot of young pitchers make the mistake is that they don't have a straight line here. They are leaning one side to the other, which is going to offset their balance and make it difficult to stay in the zone. You'll also see that not only did he turn his front side towards the batter, is that he turns his knee back a little bit. And I'm a big fan of telling pitchers to line your knees up. So the front knee that is lifted up is actually in line with the back knee. And so that enables the pitcher to turn just a little bit more and get a little bit more out of his whole body when he actually throws. So his shoulder is turned in, his front hip is turned in, his front knee is turned in a little bit, and his foot that is up in the air is just hanging down. It's not sticking out towards first base. Now, one thing that could be a problem for young kids, but I don't think it's too much of a problem for Aroldis Chapman, is the fact that his eyes right now are not on the target. So we'll see how quickly he does pick up his eyes on the target. But this point right here is a very good load-up position for pitchers. Now, one of the questions I often get from pitchers is, how high should I lift my knee? Now, I tell young kids that as long as you get your front knee and hip area to be at least parallel to the ground, you're good to go. Okay, Aroldis takes his knee up a little higher than parallel to the ground, and it's obviously going to help him. So obviously, if you get too far up with that knee, oftentimes you have to kind of lean back to compensate. But certainly he's able to keep that straight line posture, even though he brings his knee up a little higher. So nothing wrong with that. So let me push play here, and I'll mention a couple other things here. Okay. So he's loaded up and he's starting to come forward. Now, one thing I do like is that his foot that's hanging there, his toe is lower than his heel. Okay, sometimes when you look at a pitcher in this position, his toes of his lifted foot are higher than his heel. Now, what I tend to find is when pitchers do that, they tend to land more on their heel and make it difficult to keep a balanced landing. So the fact that he has his foot inside his knee and his toes are facing down is going to allow him to have a better soft landing when he hits that dirt in front of him. Okay, we also see a little bit of the bend in the back knee. He's not dropping. Okay, one of the problems that I see with young kids, especially tall young kids, is that they don't use their height to their advantage. Okay, I don't know how tall Chapman is. He's probably 6'4", 6'5" at least. And so when he comes to a set position, he wants to be 6'4" or 6'5". If he bends his back knee, he becomes a much shorter pitcher, and he takes that height advantage away. So He does flex his back knee, which is good, but he doesn't drop on the back knee too much, making him a shorter picture. Now what you're going to find here, from here, is that he's going to take his foot up in the air, or that is up in the air, and he's going to extend it out towards the first base side. From this position, he doesn't go straight forward to that hole on the mound. He'll kick his foot out towards first base and glide in an arc around to his landing spot. So let's watch it here. Kicks his leg out to the side. He still has his front side completely closed, shoulder, hip, knee, and foot, and he's coming around to that landing spot. His eyes at this point, I think, are a little bit late in getting on the catcher. I always tell young kids that before you start to go forward in your motion, after your knee comes up, and before you start to go forward, your eyes should be locked into that catcher's mitt. So he's a little bit late. He's like a little bit more than halfway forward, and he's just picking up the catcher's glove. So for the most part, he can get away with that, and some pitchers can, okay? But for young kids, I'd like to have their eyes a little bit on the catcher a little bit sooner, okay? So you can see he's gliding towards that landing spot. He hasn't taken his lead foot and come straight forward. He's kind of coming around to that landing spot here. So he comes in and he lands, okay? And he has a very good balanced position over his knee. Now you can see that there's a slight angle from his foot straight up through his head. Now what, as you're going to see, that's going to cause is that he's going to lose his balance a little bit after the pitch and fall towards the third base side. Now I want to back up here and do something a little technical, but it's something that kids have to learn at some point here. So let me back up here. Now what you're going to notice here is that with a lot of things in baseball and even pitching here, is that pitching occurs from the ground up. Okay, so what you're going to find is the first thing that's going to open up towards the catcher is going to be his lead foot, because that's closest to the ground. And then you're going to see immediately after his lead hip start to open up, and then you see his top shoulder start to open up, and then he throws. Okay, so his foot opens up, then his hip, and then his shoulder, in that order. One of the big mistakes kids make is they will fly their hip open too fast or their shoulder too fast, and it has to go foot, hip, shoulder in that order from the ground up. If that order is messed up, then oftentimes the pitcher's not going to get the most. He's going to fly open too soon and cause a lot of problems here. So in this slow motion video, you're going to see his foot open up there, and then his hip comes open, and then finally his shoulder comes open and he makes the throw. Okay, now from here, let's just stop it right here. Okay, I'm a huge fan of focusing attention on where pitchers are at that particular point. Okay, now he obviously, as I said, is going to lean a little bit towards the third base side. But for young kids, I'd like to see that be a straight line pretty much from that leg that is on the ground. It's a little bit angled toward third, which, as you're going to see, is going to cause him to fall towards third base. But a young kid, I'd like to see him be able to be balanced and stay in the center of the mound. A couple things you're going to see here, which I really like and I always teach. He's reversed to shoulders. Okay, so if we go back to, let's see if we can go back to here. Okay, if I go back to here, you can see his lead shoulder is facing the catcher and his back shoulder, or throwing shoulder, is back towards second base. When he has done his pitch, he has reversed his shoulders, okay? And that's really important. And not only has he reversed his shoulders, but if I go back here to that video here, let me go back a little farther, okay? You can see not only is his lead shoulder pointing to the catcher, but his lead hip right here is pointing to the catcher. And what you're going to see is when he's done his pitch, he not only has reversed his shoulders, but he has reversed his hips as well. And that's going to enable his whole body to be into the pitch instead of using just his arm. Okay, so after he's done his pitch, his shoulders have reversed, and now his back hip, which was facing second base, is now completely rotated and facing the catcher. And if we go even further here, he comes around, and even the side of his foot, back foot, is now rotated and is facing the catcher. So it's basically The front side faces the catcher, and when he's done his pitch, his whole backside is now facing the catcher. Okay, now as you're going to see from here, he's going to fall a little bit towards third base, but at this point, not bad because his eyes are level, his head is up, he's reversed his shoulders, he's rotated his hips, and he's able to get the most out of his body. Okay, so I've hit play here. You'll see that he does lean and fall towards third base. Okay, now let me go back here and show you something that all young kids have to be concerned about here. So let's go slow motion, all the things we talked about, and let's see how he finishes here, and I'll give you a safety warning for kids. So front side, opens it up in order, throws his pitch, reverses his shoulders, his hips, and his foot. The ball is now hit. So right about here is when the ball is going to be made contact with. Okay, now you can see what position he's in when contact is made. So let's say the ball is hit. The ball is hit by the bat, and boom, it's hit right back at him. Okay, now I'll ask you, what kind of position is he in if that ball is smoked right back at him? Okay, not a very good one. Last year we saw a very scary event where Aroldis Chapman was drilled with a line drive right in the head. Now that's why I'm not a fan of younger kids throwing and falling left or right, mainly because it's not going to put them in the best position possible to actually field their position. Now if a pitcher is throwing correctly, a pitcher is never going to be in a fielding position, and that's why I never teach little kids to throw and automatically get into the fielding position, because the timing doesn't work. So if we back up here, and I'll show you the timing here. Let's see if I can go back here. So go back to about here. Okay, so he throws the pitch, and bang, the ball is hit. So you can see what position he's in. Even if a pitcher fields with perfect balance in the center of the mound, he's never going to be in a fielding position. It's just impossible to do. And actually telling a kid to be in the fielding position at this point forces the kid to not finish their pitch. So whether or not he was falling towards third base, maybe if that was the reason why he got drilled because he wasn't in a position, I don't know. But the point is, a pitcher wants to try to get in the best safe position when he is finished, and try to finish in the center of his body, or I'm sorry, finish his body in the center of the mound and get in the best possible position that he can. Now, in order to accomplish that, really the thing that I mainly stress with young pitchers that he does well is you can see that his glove ends up right near his hip. If your glove ends up near your hip, two things happen. First off, it keeps your body in a nice compact position. You don't have that glove flying around, which can affect your balance and your accuracy. And if your glove stays near your hip and that ball is hit right back at you, you at least have a chance possibly to bring that glove up to protect your face. Some kids will have that glove way back here behind them, and if that's the case, there's no way they can take that glove all the way around and up to catch that ball. So keeping the glove near your hip is certainly ideal. Okay, folks, well, that's the things that I see with this video, so hopefully it helped, and hopefully you can analyze some of your pitchers if they're doing some of these things either correct or not so correct. Now here's kind of my service here that I'm going to throw out there, and I'd love to hear your advice on whether or not you might be interested in doing something like this. Of course, with the use of YouTube, if a young player or parent or coach were to videotape their player, it could be a pitcher, it could be a hitter, it could be a fielder, base runner, whatever, take video of their player, send me a link of the video on YouTube, and I would do a video like this, personalized just for you. I would show you what you're doing right. I would show you what you might be doing wrong, things you might need to improve upon. And so other services I could provide, maybe a written printout of do's and don'ts, things that would apply specifically to your case, maybe some drills and some other comments that I think could be done to make you a better baseball player. So I haven't done any of this specifically, but I'm just kind of throwing out this idea that if you like this video and what I did with Aroldis Chapman, I could do it for you. Now, of course, I'd have to get into things like pricing and how I'm going to work that, but really at this point, I'm just trying to get an idea of whether or not this would be of interest to any of my readers to me, for me to do. I really don't have time to do private lessons outside of my home, but this would be an easy way where I could do it and hopefully personalize that instruction using certainly online resources. All right, folks, well, this is Coach McCreary. I hope you enjoyed today's video. And again, I'd love to hear your comments about this service that I might be interested in providing. So email me at baseballbytheyard@gmail.com, or you could leave a comment under the video on my blog. So if you're having trouble contacting me, there is a contact page on my website, baseballbytheyard.com, and I'd love to hear from you. And take care, everybody. Have a great day, and I'd love to hear those comments. Take care, everybody.